I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order, meeting of March 3rd, 2025, and ask everybody if they will please join us for the pledge and our invocation. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. Lord Heavenly Father, thank you for another beautiful day in our great city full of great people. Please grant us the wisdom needed to make great decisions tonight. Please bless and keep safe our troops and our first responders, and keep us aligned with good growth in our community. In your name I pray. Amen. All right. Ms. Sykes, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Jernigan.
Present.
Councilmember Harris. Here. Councilmember Young. Here. Councilmember Carter.
Present.
Mayor Walker.
Yes.
City Manager Rosenthal.
Here.
City Attorney Martin.
Here.
Chief Butler. Here.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the Lake City Council has opened its public meeting since 1968. The city code has prohibited any person from making personal impertinent or slanderous remarks or becoming boisterous while addressing the city council. Yelling or making audible comments from the audience constitutes boisterous conduct. No such conduct will be tolerated. There is only one approved manner of addressing the city council, and that's to be recognized and then to speak from the podium. As a reminder, persons are not to openly carry a handgun or carry concealed weapons or firearms while the governing body is meeting. Failure to abide by the rules of decorum will result in removal from the meeting. And just to reiterate, please do not detract from the items on the agenda and speak only to the items which we are currently speaking to, and do not yell from the audience. Now I will move on to our next item, which is the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the agenda.
A motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. And now we will move to public participation, since we have no proclamations tonight. And the only participant I have signed up currently is Mr. Sylvester Ward.
I will lead by saying I would never take the stand, but I will take a stand for what I believe. Here's what I know and believe, is that 2 weeks ago, Noah Walker abused the true purpose of the gavel for his own personal ambition and amusement. Noah Walker thinks his sense of pride, white privilege, and superiority justifies his misguided actions toward Mr. Bowden, whom he owes a public apology. Mr. Bowden is a legend, a pioneer among the Black community and people. Mr. Bowden is the reason we have paved roads, sewer, single-member voting, and the Richardson Recreation Department in the Black community via a federal lawsuit because your ancestors wasn't willing. You would not disrespect Mr. Bowden and not be held accountable for it. On my watch. Every day we are given an opportunity and a choice. Today, I'm willing to give you both, Noah Walker. Starting with a public apology to Mr. Bowden, or break the city legal budget and make every meeting about the truth of the good old boy system and racism for the world to see. My true people refuse to allow Noah Walker to turn the gavel into a modern day whip or a noose, to oppress or suppress us in any form or fashion. Many of us are not our ancestors, and you're not like us. Let me close and allow me to say that I will deal with you Black council members next meeting, so you don't think that in any form or fashion you're off the hook. It just happened to be Noah Walker's night. And if you're wondering why I'm wearing the Roman numeral 3, just in case you're curious. Everything has a symbol and everything has a meaning. And I want you to remember this 3 because it represents who I am. I'm Sylvester Warren III. So based on what Mr. Noah Walker does, it's going to depend on how you remember this Sylvester Warren as it relates to history. And believe me, this guy is going to make a lot of money off the city being his firm's client. And if he's smart, and I know he is, he will tell you that this battle, 2 weeks ago you won, but this war with me and my community, you don't want. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. We have no other public participation signed up for tonight, so we will move on to presentations. So the presentations, okay, yeah, Ms. Brenda, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon. RFP 007-2025 was done for state lobbyist services. 7 proposals were received. The evaluation committee shortlisted them to the top 3 firms. These firms will be doing presentations tonight. Council will score them based on 1 being top choice, 2 being second choice, and 3 being last choice. The lowest total will be the selected firm. The first presentation will be the Advocacy Group.
Thank you, Brenda. Joining us at the podium is the Advocacy Group.
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you all for allowing us to come today. A couple things. First of all, thank you all, Boy Scouts, for being here. I'm a former Eagle Scout. I think I got my first introduction to politics coming to one of these when I was about his age, and so I appreciate you all bringing them in. I think it's really important part of what you do. Also, it's fun to be here tonight. I spent most of my summers in high school at Camp Weed in Welborn, so I spent many nights at the Wendy's down the street there, probably more than I should have, but I always love to be here in Lake City. Again, I'm Steve Shale with the Advocacy Partners. My colleague Sarah Tuskill will speak in 2 seconds. And we're pleased to be one of your top 3 firms. We are a Tallahassee-based state lobbying firm with about 20 years of experience. We are unique in a couple of ways. First of all, we're all senior level people. Every single person in our firm that you will deal with is somebody who's been working in politics for 15, 20, in my case, 28 years. So everybody in our firm is somebody who's kind of been through the ropes, understands kind of what Tallahassee is about, and you will never get anybody in our firm who's a junior person. It will always be a senior level person. Second of all, we're one of the few firms that's truly bipartisan. And while Republicans are in charge in Tallahassee, there are 120 members of the state house. There are 40 members of the state senate who are both Republicans and Democrats. And we think it's important for us to be able to talk to every member on behalf of our clients. So we are a truly bipartisan firm. All of us came out of politics. We're all kind of political junkies at heart. We all worked in campaigns before we got into lobbying. We think that's important because you all understand talking to voters and what the decisions that you deal with, what they mean. And I think it's important for your lobbyists to understand the pressures that politicians and public servants face every day when they make decisions. At the same time, though, all of us work in the legislative process or executive process. Every one of us in our firm has spent time in the legislature. I spent 10 years as a staff person myself, or in the executive branch, ranging from people working in the House. One of our partners, Stephen Shiver, was the assistant to the speaker at one point, to Jeff Woodburn, who worked for both the DeSantis and Scott administration on the executive side. So we've got sort of both sides of that very much there. We represent about 100 clients total. We have kind of run the gamut. We've got some Fortune 500 companies you've heard of. We represent Walt Disney World, we represent Marriott, AT&T. We also represent some local governments. We represent the city of Ocala, for example. We represent Port Tampa Bay, we represent Okaloosa County, Citrus County. We really try not to represent, we're very thoughtful about how many municipal governments we take on for a reason. Most of the municipal government asks are appropriations in nature. And we want to be able to know that when we go ask for money on behalf of our clients, we're not asking for money on behalf of too many clients. And so we are kind of thoughtful about how we approach how many folks we're involved with. Again, our firm is very focused on the client. Again, we will, as we said in our proposal, part of our conversation this time of year, first day of session is tomorrow. So if we're fortunate enough to win this work, I think we'll all be back over here pretty quickly, probably on the phone, maybe even tomorrow, to talk through what the city's priorities are and we need to get rolling. During session, we would propose at least a once a week phone call. We'd love to have some folks come over and do some lobbying in the legislature. You all have wonderful members, and Representative Brandon and Senator Bradley, but part of why you hire a lobbyist is not to talk to the people you know, it's to talk to people you don't know. So we want to get you in front of folks beyond that. Again, we just want to appreciate the opportunity to be here. And with that, I'm going to let Sarah talk about specifics of the phone work we've done.
Amazing. Thank you, Steve, and thank you again for giving us the opportunity to present to you guys today. Steve alluded to a little bit the team approach that we take to representing clients, and certainly nobody works in a silo in our office. We meet weekly to go over the priorities of each and every client, and if we are fortunate enough to earn your business here today, I want you to know that every member of our firm would be dedicated to the success of Lake City. We all drive through here all the time as we traverse the state, and that brings up something that you guys know better than we do. You're at a crossroads of the state of Florida, between the whole eastern seaboard and every port that we have in our state, and there are some really incredible opportunities. But I know that you guys also have to balance the beauty of this area and all of the resources and the desire of your citizens. So we don't envy you of that, but think that there are really some exciting things that we could work on together. But back to the team approach that we take, our firm is purpose-built. We have built our team to be able to reach every single level and every single person in state government, whether it be state agencies, from the state agency heads to the people who are overseeing the grant processes, for example, at DEP, and every member of the legislature as well, and their professional staff who we rely on and legislators rely on a very great deal. So Steve also mentioned the local governments that we work for. I think if you have known one local government, you've probably known one local government. So we understand that there's a learning curve to get to a hold of everything all of the priorities that you guys have, and we're excited about that and certainly adept at learning about new clients and new things that are going on. But I can probably guess that you guys are interested in transportation issues, water quality issues, and economic development, and those are certainly areas that we have a great deal of experience in. But as Steve said, we're going to be jumping into the deep end of the pool if we do earn your business here today. And with sessions starting tomorrow, there's going to be a lot on the plate, but we're very excited to talk with you guys more. And I think that's it. If you guys have any questions, we're happy to answer them. I know our time is short today, but would love to hear if you guys have any.
We'll open up questions. Looking through all of the proposals that we received as the city council, you guys all provided me good answers on how you can provide access to the city to resources that we wouldn't be able to get otherwise. Your communication and trackability of your progress through how we could get those resources, and then the return on relationship for our taxpayers in reaching out beyond what our tax base is to gain more resources, to take care of things like streets, to take care of things like water plants, all of those things. So you guys were very comprehensive to me. I did have a question just based on your clientele list and having seen some of the process before with conflicting bills, right? So let's say our municipality had an issue that was conflicting with one of your Fortune 500 clients. How would you guys manage that in I guess caseload?
Sure. So listen, you all have three great firms here tonight, and frankly, the quality of people you have brought here tonight, you're going to have this challenge with any one of us. I mean, if any top level firm in Tallahassee, this is something that we navigate in a real way all the time. I mean, the first and most important thing is just flat out communication. First of all, is it a real conflict? Is there A is the thing you're concerned about. Is it even real? Is it likely to pass or not pass? Is it just something that's out there? B, more often than not, the legislature is, as you all know who've dealt with it, they want us to find solutions that don't require them to make choices. And so, you know, where we do have conflicts, oftentimes we can resolve them simply just by sitting the principals down. And if it's two people that have trust in us, we can help negotiate that. It is very rare, and sir, I've been with this firm now for 7 years. I can't think of a single time that we've actually gotten to the point where somebody had to be, you know, sort of taken out of the conversation. So it is a real thing, and again, we just try to deal with it by just being as upfront and transparent about it as we can, and ask you all to do the same in that process. And the more that we communicate about things that are coming down the road that could be a problem, then hopefully we can head them off before they become an actual problem.
I think it's a good sign that one of your clientele or the city of Ocala, they'll face a lot of similar issues in those conflicts with roadways, et cetera. Have there been any major issues that have arisen with them in conflict with the other municipalities that you guys represent?
Sarah works on that, I'll let her.
Sorry. Between the city of Ocala and
Any other municipalities, maybe trying to gain resources out of the same funds or from the same departments, et cetera?
We have not run across that, and I think, you know, certainly you guys have a very separate delegation. I spoke with our contacts at the city of Ocala before we even submitted a proposal for this, because certainly, you know, our current clients are there and are more important than any potential client, but they had no reservations or qualms whatsoever about our potential representing of both of you.
Mr. Mayor, one quick thing again. I mentioned in my conversation, we actually are pretty intentional though about not taking on too many municipal governments. I mean, we don't apply for everything that comes down the road. This was something that we felt, you know, it's a city that we all feel like we know a little bit because we come through here. I probably shouldn't admit that I occasionally stop at Hal Patter on my way to and from Tallahassee and my parents in Jacksonville. You know, we do check those boxes before we do them. And again, part of why we don't apply for every city government is because we don't want to be in the place of an appropriations chairman saying, hey, you got 3 things you want, you got to pick 2. We try to put ourselves in a place where we never have to put our client in that position.
Great. Does anybody else have any questions? Thank you guys so much.
I just want to say one thing. Please score each firm individually. The second firm that will be presenting is Sunrise Consulting Group.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager. Thank y'all so much for having us here tonight on this eve of the 2025 legislative session in Tallahassee. I would much rather be here than in the Florida Capitol building, and I think all of y'all one day will understand why. But again, thank y'all for having me here. My name is Andrew Clell. I work for a small lobbying firm out of Tallahassee called Sunrise Consulting Group, and we specialize in local government representation. And that theme, or that fact that we specialize in local government representation, will kind of be a theme a little bit throughout my conversation with y'all. Next slide. Who's got the slide?
I'll do it.
Do you want to be able to do it?
Sure. Thank you. We represent, if anybody on the council took a look at the proposals, you'll see my firm, we represent a lot of local governments throughout Florida. Several local governments that are specifically in fiscally constrained counties. So we have a lot of expertise in fiscally constrained counties and what nuances apply to those counties when you're working with Tallahassee to receive things. We built a lot of relationships with a specific staff that affect policy and budgetary matters for fiscally constrained counties, and I think that will go a long way in representing Lake City. I think what makes our firm different, and there's 3 firms here, all are well qualified, is again, like I said, we represent a lot of local governments, and I think that speaks for itself. But it's kind of how we police ourselves and how we interact and how we interface with you as the council, the city manager, and not just the council, the mayor and city manager, but the directors. We have some cities where we are a dynamic consultant. Staff knows Andrew's here to help us with our matters, right? So we interact with utilities directors and police chiefs and public works directors, and I think that integrating ourselves into your operations really ends up being a better result for you guys. Just some of the things that we do, just to give you some examples, having a lobbyist goes far past Tallahassee. far past the Capitol building and far past Tallahassee. For example, we had a city one time that didn't have a bank anywhere in city limits. And however that got dumped on me, it did. And it was, Andrew, can you help us find a financial institution that has some interest in coming to our city? And we did. We worked on that. We got some conversations started with a small credit union. Ultimately, it didn't work out. That's just one example of things that we do. When I talk about our expertise with fiscally constrained counties, when I walked in here, I was actually very excited to meet your police chief because I've actually interacted with him before to just talk about one of the issues that I've worked on that something that's very passionate to me because I have one fiscally constrained city that it's very important to them. I'm sure everybody who was on council at the time remembers when the state gave the deputy sheriffs $45,000 flat salaries and how the city had to just come up with the difference to try to fund that in order to be competitive. That is an issue that I have been working on. It's a nuance that I understand that affects Lake City, and Lake City is actually the largest fiscally constrained municipality, and y'all have the biggest fiscal hit from that change. And so you need someone that can go up to Tallahassee, explain that to the right staff, not just the top staff, the right staff to try to make that change. And I have been ringing that bell. Another issue I've worked on, especially it comes up in fiscally constrained municipalities, anybody here on council retired from state, worked for the state at some point in time? FRS. As you know, you can't terminate FRS and remain on council at the same time, right? That's an issue that we've had to work on. That's a nuance that affects a city like Lake City differently than it may affect Orlando or something like that. I want to talk about over the next 2 slides, I want to talk about access, right? That's what you need a lobbyist for. You need someone to help you gain access to, again, not just the top relationship, not just the top people, but the right people in Tallahassee. Going with a firm like ours that specializes in local government representation, because of what we do, because we are working with cities and counties, interacting with state agencies, we've developed a lot of relationships. It's not necessarily because it's anything to brag about. It's just we've been working with these folks and they're used to seeing our emails and they're used to seeing our concerns and they're used to working with our clients on issues. And so some of the partnerships that we're able to bring to this table, you know, we've worked with the MSCOT staff at DOT. We work with the Division of State Lands. We work with Parks and Recreation, FERDAC grants, Land and Water Conservation Fund. The staff is somebody we work with. And so they're used to seeing us and they're used to seeing our issues. Something else that I think myself will be able to benefit this city. I've got a good relationship with executive staff here at the county. I've got some relationships with a constitutional officer here. Just being able to interact with people in Lake City in a way that maybe other firms are able to, I think would further drive to benefit the city. Some of the other things, you know, we've got good relationships with the League of Cities, and that comes from our representation of other cities. And then it's also other things that we can do that are far past, like I said, just the Capitol building. You ever had a constituent complain to you about insurance rates? Yeah, we can help with that. You know, cities, some of the cities we represent, that's something they ask us to do. Say, can you help us talk to OIR and what we can do, you know, coastal? Lake City's not coastal, but you guys sure have been hit by hurricanes the past 2 years, right? And so what do we need to do to try to improve your city? Is that maybe changing the wind load of how buildings need to be built in this area? I don't know if you've ever seen the wind load map. It's pretty low for Lake City. So having someone who can help you express that opinion to Tallahassee, I think will ultimately be the winning strategy at the end of the day. I think my firm's the best choice for Lake City. Like I said, it's really because of the track record that we have and the work that we already do. But if for no other reason, I think we're the best price for the city. And so I think we'll have the best return on investment. We have results. We have a track record of getting results. And I think at the end of the day, we will be the best return on investment for the city. Any questions? I was told 5 minutes, so I tried to keep it short.
I noticed that your firm, as you spoke to, works primarily with municipalities. Would you find any or is there any conflict in how you go about getting resources for different cities, and what happens if you have to choose between a city or another city's priorities?
So I appreciate that question because that's something that I'm very cognizant of. And I try not to take on too many cities in the same delegation. And I think that's an important thing. I think none of the firms here have if we were going for procurement for something in Orlando, potentially it's possible I have 3 cities or another firm has 3 cities in that same area. In your delegation, I have 1 other city, but I think that at the end of the day, so much of your success is driven by where your delegation puts your project on their priority list, right? So you guys are the largest city in your delegation. You have the most population, you have the most shared constituents with your delegation. I think that inherently of itself helps move your appropriations requests, because obviously at the end of the day, appropriations requests are what cities are looking for. I think that in itself at the end of the day helps drive your priorities up on their list. I've never had a situation where I've had to ask a chairman to fund something at the detriment of another project in the same delegation. I hope that kind of helps your answer to your question.
Anybody else have any questions?
Thank you all for your time very much. I appreciate it.
The final presentation will be by Johnson and Blanton.
Good evening.
Thank you, yeah, thank you. Mr. Mayor, thank you, and commissioners. We're pleased to be here. My name's John Johnson. I'm the founding partner of Johnson and Blanton, a Tallahassee-based firm. Actually, didn't know until today. This year, we're celebrating our 30th anniversary as a firm, and so we're very proud of that. I was sharing with your mayor, I actually came over early and found out that the Marion Street Bistro is closed on Mondays. So that was a disappointment to me. But in any event, we appreciate the opportunity to be here. I want to introduce in a minute my colleague Derek McGee. The way our firm works, we work as a team. All of us, it's all hands on deck, but we usually typically assign one person, and Derek will be assigned as the lead for us. Our specialty is, our sweet spot is really in the budget and the appropriations arena. Actually, when I did hung a shingle, Democrats were in control of the legislature, and we were successful then. Republicans were in charge now. We're successful now. We've been successful in securing budget and appropriations for our clients when the budget's been lean and when the budget's been plentiful. And so we're very proud of that. I will say this, I remember doing an RFP project at one point, and someone in your shoes, they put kind of local government clients at a high priority in the scoring. And I'll just tell you straight out of the gate, we have one local government client right now, and that's on purpose. We are very choosy when we seek local government clients, and here's why. They typically compete in the same spaces, in the same budget silos for the same type of projects. And we feel like you only have a few bites at the apple. And we want to be very cautious by how we choose local government clients. So we're not putting too many people against each other, asking the same legislators for the same type of projects. So that's something that we really work very hard to do. And I'll just close you with this and turn it over to Derek. Very proud that the staff, we were scored, I think tied for first in our strategic approach. And so we're very proud of that they recognize that. And I think where we scored low was on the fee approach, and I would just say all those things are negotiable. And so with that, I want to thank you for your time. I know we have a brief 5 minutes to turn it over to Derek. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Mr. Mayor, thank you all once again. So I did a small presentation, won't dominate your time. John mentioned that we are this year 30 years old. The collective years of our firm is 100 years of experience, and I would actually argue more than 100 years of experience. But we are a team that has vast experience both legislatively and executive branch. I worked for 3 straight governors, beginning with Governor Bush, ending with Governor Scott's first term. So we're very close in executive branch experience, state agencies, but also in appropriations, which is very, very important to us. Our motto is relationship is everything, and we believe that. And I would argue that when you hire a lobbyist, you're hiring a lobbyist for 3 R's, right? It's reputation, relationship, and ultimately results, right? You want to make sure that whoever you hire is going to get you the results that you want because you're expending your dollars to make sure you're getting that. And we believe that we have a reputation and an experience to get those results and get those results at a high level. Done my research, I know that you all are looking to get money for the fire department, $900,000. We have a good relationship with your delegation members, both in Senator Bradley and Representative Brannon. We feel very confident in how things are going to be. It's going to be a tight budget, but we have relationships in the right positions. We submitted that in our proposal as well. And then just, kind of being prophetic here, but just kind of a look at our teams. So as John mentioned, we are a full service firm. And so although I would be lead, our team together would register on behalf of the client because all of us bring in experience and relationships in that regard. To us, it's very important to make sure that we represent all of our clients well. The one thing that we hold very true is that every one of our clients have a brand. And so it's not our job to embarrass that, but it's our job to advance that. And so we take very great pride in that regard. John also mentioned about local governments. So right now we represent Santa Rosa County. And short of that, it would be you all. And we're very intentional about that. And we're very careful about that as well. We want to make sure that we're always operating with integrity. And so we believe that every client deserves attention. And so we're not just trying to be registered or lobbyists and then ignore you, but making sure that we are attentive, we are active, we're engaging. We would come here for your meetings, but also bring you to Tallahassee, get you in front of the right people as well. And so, Mr. Mayor, happy to take questions.
Does anybody have any questions for this firm? My one question is pretty consistent with,
Yes, sir.
do you have a question, Mr. Jernigan?
Yeah, I'll wait.
It was pretty consistent with what I asked the other two. I was looking through your packet and I noticed you guys did work on the Sunshine Corridor, right, with Madison County? And to me, if you guys were working with Madison, something like Madison County on a project like that and us at the same time, we may come across conflicts, right? So how would you guys mitigate those conflicts if we were wanting you guys to push killing that corridor so that it didn't drive traffic out of Lake City?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor, great question, thank you. I'm happy to answer that. And it does happen from time to time. Thankfully, in our 30 years, it may be 2 or 3 times. And we have just a pretty simple formula, and it's worked. The client that's been with us the longest gets the deference. We don't represent Madison County anymore. We would represent you all, and you all would get the deference. And it works easier. I think everybody's comfortable with it outside, inside right out of the gate. That's just our formula for it. So, thank you. Sorry.
Mr. Jernigan, you had a question?
Yeah, I'll wait on it. I'll wait.
Okay. I don't have any more questions. Thank you guys very much. Thank you guys. So Brenda, if you could describe this for us one more time.
So you should all have a scorecard, and if you will rank these 3 firms, 1 being the top choice, 2 being the second choice, and 3 being the last choice. And then it will be tallied up, and the lowest total will be the firm that we go with, right?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, please.
so once each individual council member has given their ranking, put their name on their score sheet and dated it, those would be tallied. As Brenda mentioned, the lowest ranked firm would be the one that we would ask the council to authorize the city manager to negotiate with first. And assuming the council has no real problem with who the second ranked person is, or firm is, we would ask that you authorize us to negotiate with them if negotiations with the first ranked firm failed, just so we wouldn't have to come back to council with it. And if there is a tie in the council's scoring, then to break the tie, we're proposing that the score from staff that was initially done to get us the top 3 be used to break the tie for council, just so we move forward with one of the firms.
Does anybody have any questions for Clay?
I have
Yeah.
I don't have a question for Clay, if I may call for the Advocacy Group to come back up.
And then folks, just for public comment, what we're going to do is after we finish with these questions, we'll open up public comment, then we'll have more discussion by the board, and then we'll move forward.
Hi. How many years have you all been in service?
So our firm, and Steve and I can talk about our backgrounds a little bit, but our firm was created in 2003, so 22 years. I personally have been at the firm for 18 years, since 2007. Steve has been with us for 7 years.
I'm the new one. I've been 7 years, but all of us have experience beyond just the firm.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Also, can I, the Sunrise Consulting Group, how many years have you all been in service?
The firm itself was incorporated in 2014 or 2015. That's your short answer, but we have combined over 60+ years of combined experience.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions?
Yes, I do.
All right, yes, Mr. Jernigan.
The Advocacy Group, can you come back up, please? You made a very, very important statement. I think it was you, if I can recall, I always got questions slip my mind sometimes. When you lobby, I guess you know the majority of the Democrats, Republicans in the House. You know the majority of those people. Is there anybody you don't know?
So I think my colleagues behind me, other firms can come meet me if I'm wrong. We're all learning the freshmen. We live in an era of term limits. And so, each election season, there's a whole new school of mainly House members. And so we're all kind of going through the process of getting to know them, and we've met them all, building that relationship with them. But no, we feel very confident that as a firm, we can go down 160 people and tell you that person knows. There's somebody in our firm who has a relationship with that member, particularly the ones that, again, with the caveat that we're all learning the first term members.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. So, Rise, you mind? That same question. Is there anybody up there you don't know?
Well, I agree with, thank you, Councilman, for the question. I agree very much with what they said. We're all always learning the freshmen. I think that depending on who you represent, generally your firm, you meet different staff. So if I represented a large healthcare company, then maybe I would work with ACA a lot, right? Versus a firm like mine, you work with a lot of local governments, you work with DEP, you work with DOT. If you represented schools, you would have great relationships with DOE. And I don't expect every firm to be able to know across those different topics of staff.
Thank you. Same question for, is that Johnson and Blanton?
Yes, sir. Great question. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. So as my colleague, as Steve mentioned, we're learning them all. The freshmen are always interesting, right? Because the number always changes. At our firm, actually what happens is every 2 years, John actually hosts a party at his house around Christmas for the freshman legislators and really bring them and get a chance to spend some one-on-one time with them. It's always fun to do that because it's right before they actually get started. So they are still excited about why they won. So they realize what that means, that they actually won. So you're always learning them, right? And some of them are former aides who now are members, and so we're still learning them. There's a lot of them, they all matter, and so we feel comfortable in who we know, but there's a few that we still don't know yet. We're still learning.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
I'm glad you answered that. Also, with that being said, I heard one of the firms say that you lobby not for the people you know, you lobby to the people that you don't know. So that was important to me to hear. All of you guys say, pretty much you guys are freshmen at this, and you're learning to grow, to get to know the proper people to talk to for the city of Lake City and Columbia County to succeed. So I really appreciate the honesty of all of you guys.
Mr. Johnson,
Ms. Harris had a question for you as well.
before you leave, Mr. Johnson, you're considered as the lead guy.
I would be on this one, yes, ma'am.
How many years have you? I'm sorry, how many years have you been with?
Johnson and Blanton, I've been there 10 years. I started in 2014, I'm sorry.
And how many years have you, I guess, been lobbying?
Actually, this will be year 25. If I count, I did 14 and a half years in government, and I'm not going on 11 and a half years, almost 12 years private sector. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So we have no other questions. We haven't defined proposition. Thank you to Mr. Martin. So I don't believe that we had any public comment. Nobody's entered any, so we'll close public comment now. We'll go into further discussion by the board.
Mr. Mayor, I'll say, I think they were all great presentations, and obviously, they gave us much longer and more detailed, presentations in the packet, so I read through those. I think what was presented to us, in my opinion, was kind of a couple different, angles to look at what we're gonna be asking them to do. We had two, first I would say that any of these, firms would probably serve us very well. We had two firms say, we don't do a ton of what you guys have for the sake of exclusivity and this, that, and the other. And then we had one firm say, we do a ton of it. So we're very, very familiar with it. So I guess it may be a bit of a roll of the dice on which one of those strategies is best. But for me, personally, I like the idea that the battles that we're fighting and waging and looking for is, in general, top of mind for our lobby. So I was drawn mostly to the Sunrise Group in that regard. I think having the same basic concepts on your mind every day seems like a valuable asset. So that's my opinion on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Anybody else? Mr. Jernigan?
Same thing, it means, I don't want to be redundant in repeating, the questions, but Sunrise is, definitely, one of those firms that, I believe that, can take us, can help us, move in the right direction, and again, all of them are very, very, good, but, the one that caught my eye, would be, that Sunrise Consulting Group, so, I'm not, you know, I just know that from the presentation, he, really, you know, hit close to home, so, I just wanna thank all the groups for coming out, that's very, very important to me, but, Sunrise definitely shed some light.
Thank you, Mr. Jernigan. Ms. Young?
Yes, I pretty much had my mind made up after, after the, information in the packets. All of them are great, very good. I believe, Sunrise would be, and I wanna say this, we know that we are facing a, kind of different times now, where, I believe we're going to need a very strong background, asking and lobbying for what we need here in this city. We have a new leader and things are changing, has changed and still changing, so it's gonna be a fight. And I just believe we need someone who is, very strong, strong standing firm, and I do believe I hear that I read that and I hear that in Sunrise, and my next would be Johnson and Blanton.
So what we're gonna do, because we have, do you have any comment?
Really quick, I think at the beginning of this, they sort of were asking, as far as the process presented, if that was acceptable. I just want to be clear that I find that very acceptable.
Okay. So we have our scorecards. What I would ask you to do is Ms. Sykes is gonna tabulate those up, if you'll, and then she's gonna read our scores out loud, or would you prefer we read them out loud for you? What would you prefer?
Would you like them to read them, then pass them down?
They could read them and then pass them down for you to tally and,
Yes, I like that.
go from there.
And then we'll take a break, we'll take a brief recess after that, and then we'll come back with the, forward. Does that make sense? All right.
Just make sure you sign them.
All right, actually, I'll let you call them, Ms. Sykes.
Okay, Mr. Jernigan, who's your first?
My first choice would be Sunrise, my second would be Johnson and Blanton, and my third would be the Advocacy Group.
Ms. Harris?
My first one would be Johnson and Blanton, the second one Sunrise, and the third and Advocacy.
Mr. Carter?
Sunrise one, Advocacy Group, two, and Johnson Blanton, three.
Ms. Young?
Sunrise 1, Johnson and Blanton 2, Advocacy Group 3.
Okay, Mayor?
I have the Advocacy Group of 1, Sunrise 2, Johnson Blanton 3.
Everybody hand me their scorecards, and I'll just tally it up.
We're gonna take a brief recess. We'll be back. right, let's get ready to get back. Call this meeting back into order. Same meeting, March 3rd, 2025. Now we'll have the results of our scoring read by Ms. Audrey Sykes.
Okay, Sunrise Consulting Group came in with a total of 7 points to their first place. Johnson and Blanton, second place with 11 points. The Advocacy Group at Cardenas Partners, 12 points total, and they came in third.
Thank you, Ms. Sykes. Now we'll have further discussion or a motion by the council.
Mr. Mayor, with that being said, I'd like to make that motion in the order that it was presented to give staff directions on which way we should go, helping that group get on board with us.
Mr. Martin, there was some very nuanced language. Can you?
So if I understood the councilman correctly, the substance of his motion was that we enter into negotiations with the top ranked choice first, and if those negotiations should fail, then we would be authorized to enter into negotiations with the second ranked firm, and if those should fail, then we would move to the third ranked firm. And we would bring back the contract for further approval.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Jernigan. Thank you for the second, Mr. Carter. Final discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Sykes, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Ms. Young? Yes. Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Walker?
Yay. Thank you. All right, we have no old business, so we'll move on to new business and on to item number 2, which is discussion and possible action. Consider appointment of one of the following applicants to serve as the council appointed trustee on the City of Lake City's municipals firefighters pension trust fund. We didn't have any public comment signed up for this one, so I will go ahead and open and close public comment if nobody wants to speak. And we'll move on to council discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
the initial request from, I believe from the Fire Pension Board was for an employee of the city who also lives in the city. So that being said, I think we should nominate Lisa Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Any other discussion?
Yes, and again, I'm working beside my colleague here, Mr. Carter. I'll second that motion. I think that that would be a great fit for the pension board.
Thank you, Mr. Jernigan. He didn't quite make a motion, he just spoke in favor of it, but I will entertain a motion if we have no further discussion.
I move that we nominate Lisa Morris to that board.
Second.
We have a nomination and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
And would that be with direction that city staff come back with a resolution actually affecting the appointment? This would just be the nomination and we would bring back the appointment resolution?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Martin, Mr. Carter. We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Sykes, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Carter?
Yay.
Mr. Jernigan?
Yes.
Ms. Young?
Yes.
Ms. Harris?
Yes.
Mayor Walker?
Yay. All right. Thank you. We'll now move on to comments. We'll start with Mr. Rosenthal.
I'd just like to mention that we need to have a budget workshop in April. Hopefully we can get it done at the first meeting in April. We need input from the council on what you want to see in the coming budget.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenthal. Mr. Martin, do you have anything?
No comment.
Ms. Sykes, do you have anything?
No, no, thank you.
Vice Mayor Young?
I do not.
Mr. Jernigan?
I do not.
Councilman Carter?
Yes, real quick, for those who may or may not follow my, I have a Facebook page for my representation here. I put out a video kind of briefly explaining some stuff on there last week about some of our water treatment plans for the future, and just wanted to let everybody know I'm sitting down with with multiple directors on Wednesday. We're gonna do a brief little interview, just a further explanation of how we do what we do and why we're doing it as far as wastewater treatment management and our future plans with it. So I'm gonna sit down with our utilities director, Steve Brown, and Cody Pritchett with wastewater, and Mike Osborne with water treatment. So I would say I'll have that video out, so that'll be some kind of, I think, interesting information, either Wednesday evening or Thursday morning. And other than that, I have no more comments.
Thank you, Councilman Carter. Councilman Jernigan, you had some?
Yes, I did. I want to apologize. I want to thank the scout team for showing up tonight and showing out. They look very, very organized. But there was a special a special scout that I come up on the elevator with. His name is Jaden. I think it is. Jaden, you mind standing up? This young man here, most people cannot get him to talk according to the scouts honor back here. And for some apparent reason on that elevator, he talked to me, and he's a very, very, in my opinion, outgoing young man, and he's going to be successful in that scout program. So I just wanted to give him a special shout out there, Mr. J. Let's give him a hand, y'all. Thank you, Mr. J.
Mayor,
Thank you, Councilman Jernigan. Yes.
I think it would be nice if one would come to the mic and introduce the team. It's not what it's called.
It's a great idea. The Troop 85. We do have Troop 85 in the house, and I would love if one of you guys would come up and introduce your troop and what you're doing here tonight.
You got everything. My goodness.
Good afternoon. I'm Dakota Buechner. I'm the SBL of Troop 85. We are doing the Student Community Merit Badge, which one of the requirements was to come to a city council meeting and watch and take notes of any of the interesting stuff that we wanted to talk about later. So we got our ASBL, Joshua Livingood. We got JJ, Josiah Wheeler, that guy. Gabriel, what's your name again? Derek, Mason, excuse me, Marshall, Mr. Sean, Ricky, our Scoutmaster, Mr. Mark. We got Josiah Radcliffe, Nate, Caleb with a K, and then Matthew. And we got Caleb with a C, Mason, and then Jada. Oh, sorry, Jackson. Good brothers. And then we got Miss Radcliffe and her son.
Yeah. You did a great job. You did a great job. We put you on the spot here. This is public speaking is incredibly hard. You did a wonderful job introducing everybody. We're so glad and thankful that you guys came out tonight. If you guys need anything from us, there are cards from the council that you can get here after the meeting. And we'd love to answer your questions and help you get whatever merit badges that we can help you get.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
And if I can say one more thing.
Absolutely.
When I looked out at your troop, I just think it's awesome. I was a Girl Scout coming up. I didn't do as well as I should have because I focused more on eating the cookies and not stuff. But I'm just grateful. I thank you all for coming out.
Thank you.
Very good. All right, now, thank you very much. Now we'll move on to Councilwoman Harris, please.
I have a question. Mr. Rosenthal.
Yes, ma'am.
I know we previously talked about getting a full-time attorney. I was just wondering.
Well, we're still talking to various folks about that, and we don't want to really breach a public in a public setting, but, we're still working with that.
Thank you, Councilwoman Harris. My comments, I want to wish a happy birthday to Ms. Lofton, who turned 95 here in Lake City. I was invited to her to present her an open letter yesterday. It was a beautiful ceremony, so I was very appreciative to be included on that. I'm going to be reading, it is Dr. Seuss week, I don't know if you guys know that, but I'll be reading Kingdom Culture tomorrow morning. And I'm very excited to do that. If you're a teacher watching this and you need someone to come up, read or present to your class, it's something that I'm very open to, and I'm sure that the rest of my council here is as well. I would like for us to formally reach out to the clubhouse. I don't know if we've had any discussions on that. I know that there's a 90-day period for them to put together their plan for keeping it up. But I just want to make sure that we don't get 77 days from now, 76 days from now, and be in the same position. And then also, if we could, Mr. Rosenthal, follow up formally with Mr. Durrett. I know that there was a couple of council that spoke to that last time, wanting his opinion, and I haven't gotten anything back from him. So just
Who was that, Mayor?
Mr. Durrett, the state's attorney on the item from our last agenda with Mr. Cavendish, just to close that door and just make sure that it's only supplemental.
Will do, Mayor.
Thank you. Those are all my comments, and I just want to let everybody know. Also, next Saturday, March 8th, we'll have Community Shred Day. It's a great opportunity to get rid of all of your old checks or any documents that you may have sitting around your house. And then we'll have a city council visioning session, strategic planning on Monday, March 10th. And that is it. This meeting is adjourned.